Rehabilitation. Now that word is a funny one, because once you're actually inside, you got whatever the walls are, rehabilitation, like it's a real thing. But when I was inside or on probation, they go, oh, we can change your lives, we can do this, we can do that. They do nothing but hold you back. Unless you've got the inner belief that you truly want to get away from what you're doing and learn from others, and maybe if you got a religion, maybe that can help you as well, or you learn from others that have done it, like achieved outside of prison, you're never going to do it. Rehabilitation is, in a way, the meaning is good. It's just the probation service, they fail. I remember my probation, like once a week I had to serve for 2 years. No progression ever. As soon as you get out, you're in hostels that you don't want to be in. I spent years and years inside tough prisons, come out and they put me in a hostel for 6 months with sex offenders when I had somewhere to live. And I told her this. It took 4 weeks then to clear my job. On top of that, you're constantly getting held back, and you constantly got to be patient. And I didn't know rehabilitation was about being patient for 7-8 years. It's a con. It's all a con. It's all like the system fails you, the prison system. I feel for the boys that are in there now suffering. They can't even have a fag because some officer breathed in second-hand smoke or something. So that's the reason why the smoking ban come in. It's inhumane. I know a lot of friends that are long-termers inside and that they like a fag just to calm them down. They go to work in the prison for the slave wages that it is. They're happy with where they're at because they can't go home, obviously, because they've got to stay in. And they're getting told, you can't smoke anymore. And why can't we smoke anymore? Oh, because an officer breathed in second-hand smoke, and he's put in a complaint, and it got him moving, so we ban it because of him, because he's got to come in your cell once a day and do a thing called bolts and bars. Okay, what about the guy that lives there for years consistently, like I had to and other guys do? What, he can't have a fag now because that guy's got to come in once a day and he gets to go home every night? It's wrong. The system's so bad, and fair play to a lot of the boys, are very headstrong, and so was I. I'd done my time and got out, and I'm off licence. But it's very, very hard when you're constantly hearing rehabilitation, because it's not real. Obviously, I personally, when I was in prison, HB Reading, HB Aylesbury, HB Coldenley, then HB Bullenden, then HB Stocken, and then back to HB Bullenden. And I started prison at 20 years old in young offenders, and then they stuck me right in an adult hard jail, Coldenley. I was 21 years old. That was my first adult, and they chucked me in at the deep end. Yeah, press a button to go to the toilet. Sharing cells. I never shared a cell in my life. I was forced to share a cell, and then obviously, because I'm high risk, in the end they give me my own cell. But that took a lot of hassle. Every time you went to a new prison, I had to start again. So you get your own cell, which is better. It's not inhumane, so you have to use the toilet in front of your guy, because I'm not used to doing that, sharing a toilet with a man, because that's what it is in a sense in the double cell. So so every prison I went to, I had to keep doing the same thing, going to the doctors, telling them about the high risk. So when I was in Reading, HB Reading, when it started, September 2012, first night, they're like, so you're in the court cells for days and days, you're waiting to... I didn't even know what prison was, and I was like, please just take me to prison, I'm sick of listening to that chain all day. You're laying in the police cell like, oh my God, I'm doing years. I was in for a stabbing. And all you're hearing is the chain, the footsteps of the police officer. They do it on purpose to annoy you. So, I've done 3 days in the police cell, And I just said to them, then just take me to prison, mate. An hour later, they took me to HMP Reading. That's where it all started. And then it's intimidation as soon as you go in there. The officers, they try to stare you out, and they try and humiliate you by doing a strip search. So basically that is, as soon as you get there, they want you to strip naked, and then you have to search you for drugs or anything if you got on you. But I've never been done for drugs. I don't do drugs. I'm only in for violence. So I know it's like they have to do it to everyone, but I'm just saying, like, I had it over the years in prison as well with drug tests and random searches. It's because I was linked with people, but then that's wrong because they're judging me for being with friends. So yeah, the whole system's failed. Rehabilitation, the word is a joke. My friend Ian, I won't mention his last name, we used to talk about this for years, and he's done 20, 30 years in jail, and he said he is every year, and he's got they're trying to drill something into your head that's not real inside. The only thing that's real is when you actually live in there, and you take it day by day, which I did, and which Ian did, and I learned a lot from these long-termers. I was a long-termer myself, but they were obviously longer than me. And then you kind of get used to the place, but then you don't get used to hearing stupid stuff like rehabilitation, and a lot of boys will say, yes, it is rehabilitation, just to get through the system, because generally you might start saying an A cat, and then progress to a B cat, and then you go to a C cat, and then do a couple of years of C cat, and then hopefully you do all your courses, you tick all the boxes, you'll get to an open jail and a D cat. The thing is, for me, a bit silly, I didn't do that. I wouldn't agree with doing courses, and only if I felt I wanted to, because I didn't want to progress the system. I thought I'd get the years I got, do the time, go home. Where a lot of other guys, long term, say 20, 30 years, they have to do the system, tick the boxes to go through. So say they're in a B cat for years, they've got to do certain courses, go for their parole, and they get the thing through their door, which the level, so they can go down to a C. And then sometimes a lot of these long terms, they have to get in an open jail to be tested in the community. So for them guys, I understand it, but it's these short termers that I've met a lot through the time in prison. They're just brown noses. They're like, oh, I've got to do this course, it's really helped me. None of the courses ever offered in prison, which are American based as well, were any good to me. Obviously I got baptised in prison, and I'm a Christian. That really helped me massively personally. Speaking to a lot of boys, talking honestly with each other about our crimes, just getting everything out, like the guilt we felt. We used to talk in depth, because you're only going to learn off people you're living around, better than people that come and do your doors and the windows and smash them, bolts and bars, and then go home and they smell of smoke. You know, when you want a fag and you can smell smoke on them. Stuff like this, like it was always mind games. I had it once 4 or 5 in the morning. They're coming in my room, my cell that I was in, and they're searching my stuff. I said, what are you doing? They said, oh, we think you got drugs in here, we think you're a drug dealer. I said, have you seen my record? It's always violence. They said, no, we think you're a drug dealer. I said, okay. Go on then, I'll leave, and do not make too much mess. As soon as I went back in my cell, pictures up the floor, they made the mess like they do. And then I obviously complained to the officers and that, and asked them to tidy it back up, basically. Which they never did. I had to do it. They found no drugs, obviously. And they did this for years and years and years. I must have had 30 to 40 random drug tests, never failed. So from 2012 to 2019 of being in the system, I never failed a drug test. But still to this day, well, obviously I'm off licence last week, but they were targeting me saying the steroids. I used to take steroids years ago when I used to bodybuild, but they used to say to me, are you back on the steroids? And I used to jokingly go, yeah, of course I am, mate. Yeah. Probably set myself up to fail, but I always knew I was off them, and I knew I'd always like never fail. And yeah, it's just that word rehabilitation. It's the funniest word. Like me and the lads used to sit there laughing about it. Like, if you want to go to an open jail, you tell them what they want to hear. It's an American thing. Of course, as they're following American. It's failed. The real offending rate in England is terrible. I think it's well over 50%. Mine, because I done GBH of intent in 2012, and then I done GBH in 2016. Obviously one more violent crime, I'll get a life sentence minimum, which is very sad, obviously, and I don't want to go away for life. When I got out in 2019 from the second GBH, probation said to me, your reoffending rate is about 80%. And she said, you're more likely to commit murder on your third crime, or GBH with intent or attempted murder. I said, whoa. My first crime was GBH with intent. My second crime was GBH. If anything, my crimes have gone down, because it's gone from a section 18 to a section 20, which means less time. So by my understanding, it would be my next crime would have been ABH, which I don't think a couple of years maximum. So they couldn't really give me a life sentence for that. But obviously I'm not, my mistakes are my mistakes, you know. Things never happen for no reason, but sometimes you act in the wrong way. Yeah, so it was 80% or something, my reoffending rate, and I beat it. I haven't gone back in. I've been out for, I think it's 2 years and a week I've been out. So I've beat the statistics. And obviously if you're a gypsy inside as well, like I am, unfortunately you do get treated differently as well. I mean, I'm very, how do you say it? I treat people how they treat me. So if you're fair to me, I'm fair to you. Now, a lot of officers, I can't judge them all and say they were terrible, this and that. You had bad apples. You had bullies. But we can all be bullies inside. We're all human beings. That's the thing. Like, if the officers treat you a certain way, that they did bully the more vulnerable inmates that I see. Now, generally, a lot of long-termers wouldn't look out for vulnerable people. They try and help them. But it's never talked about like this. Like, in the papers, prisoners are scum, prisoners get this. So you think it's right that a man should earn £20 a week to work in DHL, say, for instance, yeah? The hours are not that long. I think the hours were like 8 a.m. till 11:30. So that's 3.5 hours. And then you'd have your lunch, you go back to your cell, and then you come back at like 2 till 5, say, for instance. So you're still doing 6-7 hour days, and they're paying you £20 a week. Now, people in prison are very happy with that money, because it's good money in prison, but they should pay people proper money. And then, like I used to say to the workers in DHL when I used to work there, I said, look, I'd be much more happy and motivated if I knew I was getting real money like you guys are getting. I said, obviously I'm very happy with the money for prison, but I said, you can't expect me to like graft my every second of the job for £20 a week. Like, it's inhumane. I'll still do it, but it's inhumane. I'm not going to be 100% of a worker, so I'll be 70% or something. I'll do just enough to keep the job. And I did that for years. And I worked in the church. I think the first job I ever got was a binman in Reading. Going around picking up rubbish, which was nice because like you could walk around the prison, a few other lads. It was alright. And then like other jobs, textiles, wing cleaner. What else did I do? Kitchen worker. DHL worker, church worker. It gives you good experience, really, life skills, them jobs. The church job I had, the vicars, the imams, any religious leader I met, they were the loveliest people, and I thank God for all the time I learnt off them, and they were the best people. And obviously I'm a Christian, but every single religious guy I met of any faith, they were so humble and so fair with me, and it changed my views on a lot of religions. So I can only thank them, especially imams. They were the beautifulest people I've met. Same as vicars, same as Sikh leaders, same as pagan leaders, Hindu leaders. They all had the common denominator: beautiful, peaceful people. And just because I weren't the same religion as them, none of them ever asked me to change, or like a lot of people think in prison, like you get, especially for imams, the people who say, imams are quite bring you to other religions, never did. And I met beautiful imams. Same as vicars. If I was a Muslim, if I met a vicar, they'd be the same. Very humble, and like they don't need to bring you to the religion, because if you want the religion, you find it yourself. They can steer you in the right direction, but it's down to you at the end of the day. Yeah, so we've gone off topic a bit, but this is like prison diaries, really. And like the word rehabilitation is hilarious because it's fake. Like, basically, this is how crazy it is. I done all them years away, this violent man, this violent Jippo, as they call it, yeah? But now I'm off licence, I'm not violent anymore in the eyes of the law. It's crazy, like, because obviously I'm not going to attack random people on the street. Generally, I'll be trying to get into boxing to do something good and to fight people for money for a change, instead of fighting people and getting people ringing the police and then me going jail. Because that's what happens a lot nowadays as well. You get a lot of boys on the street, they're these gangsters, they're very tough men, but they're doing it very differently to how I was brought up, where you just sort it out with yourselves, not with the police. But that's another one altogether, isn't it? Yeah, so the word rehabilitation is hilarious. We used to laugh, a lot of me and the lads, about it, because we knew how failed the system is, because we've lived it. And no matter what any prison officer or anyone from the public thinks, unless you're living there, you won't understand what it's like. I can't judge every officer or every prison says this or that. You take it as you see it there. HMP Bullingdon personally was horrendous. The food, you never got enough food. Even though it said in the papers they're getting Christmas dinner, like good Christmas dinners. Yeah, I mean, majority of the time the food was alright, but it's just the portion size. Now, I'm a big man and I was getting sizes for children, so, and a lot of other guys were. And yeah, it's terrible. Every prison you went to, it's slightly different. When I was in HMP Stockton, yeah, they put me in HMP Stockton. I'm from Slough area, so HMP Stockton's Leicestershire. That's what they do generally. You'll be in your local prison, so mine's HMP Bullingdon, and then they'll be like, depends how long you get, you'll move on. So say when I was in Bullingdon, I got basically 7 years, and then you do like a couple of months in Bullingdon, you get sentenced, and then you go. Once you get your status, like I was a C-Cat, so I went to HMP Stockton, and then like when you're there, a C-Cat is generally a better run prison than a B-Cat of Bullingdon, a local, because when you're in local prisons, you're meeting all sorts of guys. They're coming off the street, they're doing a week in jail and then going home. But you're sat there with years, you want to be settled on a wing with people in similar positions, so you get to know each other, and then like you're not anxiety and angry watching people constantly come and go because you're like, I wish that was me. That's how simple it is. So yeah, I landed in Stockton. The portion sizes were massive. I was like, whoa, proper men's sizes. And then yeah, it's just every prison is different for stuff like that. And I did hold it down. I never was violent inside once, unbelievably, as predicted by probation, and they got it all wrong. They follow paperwork and statistics instead of real life, unfortunately. But it's only you that can beat the system, really, yourself. Anyone can teach you anything, but if it ain't down to you, it ain't gonna. And probation and stuff don't teach you anything. And they held me back massively for years and years and years. I think when I first come out, they put me in a hostel. When I second come out, they put me in a hostel. They tried the same pattern with me twice, you know. And the first time I come out, I was only a young lad, 21, 22. I was like, I was living life, you know. never on drugs or nothing like this. I was doing boxing, and then I messed up, you know. Had a fight, and that happens. Like having a fight or whatever you do, it is not really a crime. Having a fight. I mean, that's the country we live in. If you have a fight, you go to prison for years and years and years. But people like Rolf Harris, who was in Bullingdon when I was in there, he got less time than me. And he's actually a sex offender. But that is another debate altogether. Yeah, so the system is failed towards violence and drug dealers and lifers. It seems to be them three are the only categories they want to crack down on. So it's very sad, very, very sad. And there's a video I've done on my cousin Robin about him doing 40 years in jail for a crime he didn't commit. So I'll check that one out, people, if I was you. This will be on my YouTube channel, Gypsy Auditor UK, and it'll just be probably under this video, because I'm not going to release that many now. Slowly tell my stories about prison. Alright then guys, I'm pretty sure I'm going to call that rehabilitation. Take it easy, bye.